Hey guys, Still here and welcome back to Stormworks. Stormworks, where it is your mission, your business to build boats, to save people, to upgrade your stuff, rinse and repeat. And at the same time, this is calm content, which means that unless YouTube does something to this video, there shouldn't be any ads, except for the one that you might have seen before the video actually started. Now, before I ended episode previous, I think it was episode 4, I said that I'm going to be working on doing some additional missions off screen, and I have. I have been doing a few missions, and that means that I now have 84,000. Now, that gives me the opportunity to buy the base over here. This is the one on the Sawyer Islands, and it's called the Sawyer North Freight Terminal. This has two particular workbenches that I am very interested in. It has the one over here. Can I catch it? That one, right there under the cursor. And that one allows you to build bigger ships. At the same time, it has a build station. Whoops, that was a bit of a mishap. It has a build station where you can build trains. Not that I have the technology for that, but at some point, I'll probably be working on trains to make sure that I can transport stuff around the Sawyer Islands a bit faster. That's the plan, anyway. Anyway, building trains, building road vehicles, all of that stuff, that is going to be a bit of a ways off. For now, I'd be happy enough to just get off one of these Quinn versions that I have currently going on and run all the way over to the point where I can buy this particular dock / station. Now, while I'm waiting, I have my own Stormworks server. And over on the Stormworks server, there are quite a couple of regulars already. I didn't publish it on YouTube because I didn't want everybody flooding the server. There are 8 slots, and on the server you can just play along with the other guys. Now, it is a career server. That means we have to buy stuff, we have to do missions, we have to research, but a lot of the stuff has already been done. And the server does have some occasional mishaps. I'm not exactly sure why it has malfunctions every now and then, but unfortunately it does. At any rate, you are welcome to join. You can find all the details on my Discord server, which is linked down below in the description. Now, it is a career server, and it's also a roleplay server, so when you are on, I expect you to be communicative and teamworking with other players. Don't just go off and do your own thing. We play seriously on this server, so please join in on that. Now, I've bought this terminal, the North Harbor. With that, I can now start shipping all the stuff that's in here. I believe you can already do that before you actually get access to it, but all of these things need to be transported somewhere for a reward. This one has destination the Spy Cakes Freight Terminal. I don't even know where that is yet, but I believe you can get there by train. I believe that you can go by these islands and get there eventually. This one is worth 3,000. Over here we have another one also for 3,000. We have another one here for the BVG Freight Terminal. 31,000? Good lord, is that thing going to the Arctic or something? Now, these things do have connectors over here. They also have rope connectors next to it. And of course you could, if you wanted to, just put a magnet on them and bring them over. It's probably not going to be something that I'm going to be doing straight away, because I'd need first a train, which I can use this workbench to build. But I would also need something that's capable of putting the stuff on the train. So where I have the workbench over here, I can create a train and potentially a small vehicle that puts stuff on the train, because the train can only maneuver to here. And then I'd have to bring another vehicle over, pick up one of the containers, put it on the train, and make sure I have enough capability, enough range to get to the target. And there I'd have to offload it again. So that's going to be a lot of engineering. For now though, the plan is here to just make sure I have a larger dock and build a larger boat. There have been quite a few suggestions for boats. Why don't you build a submarine? Well, I don't even have fluid pumps yet, so building a submarine is a long ways off. And aside from that, a submarine is, in this game, really not that efficient. Why don't you build an aircraft carrier? Same reason. Aircraft carriers, pretty much just a vanity project. Not really something that you really need. On top of that, I could have an aircraft carrier, but that means that I'd also need aircraft. And that's a whole different ballgame, because that needs a lot of research before I'm able to get anywhere near that. Now I'm just going to let this Quinn sort of drift into the construction area. It won't pick it up as workbenchable, if that's a word, because this Quinn wasn't here when the... or rather, yeah, the Quinn wasn't here when I bought this workbench. No, that doesn't work. So the Quinn doesn't get featured as an item, but if I go to the workbench, I should be able to buy it. Or sorry, I should be able to retrieve it. Because these things are pretty valuable. They're about 15k each. And I have, there we go. I have made some adjustments to them, such as having the azimuth pods over here. They're not actually used for steering. I could do that, but generally it's not too efficient because they just take up too much, well, they take up a bit of money and the ship can get a bit unpredictable when I do that. So, that's that one done. I do have a mission over here. A boat has an emergency and a transponder signal has been detected. Well, I have large shipping now. That means that I can get the larger engine. I have the large engine available. These are, for an engine, really, really cheap. 200 only. By reference, a small engine has a price of 100. But these have a power output of 20,000 and these have a power output of 200,000. They're also a mass of 400 versus a mass of 30. So if you want to build one of these, perfectly fine, but make sure that you have a ship that's large enough to support it. And when you build ships larger, you'll find that those are expensive. Now, what do I want next? How about road vehicles? Land vehicles, because there might be missions on the Sawyer Islands for which I can use land vehicles. So let's start researching that. And then meanwhile, start building a larger boat. This is going to be a boat that I'll be using for more transport missions. And it's going to be significantly larger than one of the Quinns. I'll be using one of those large engines to propel it. But, of course, having a larger boat means it takes on more fuel. And more fuel means that the ship will be more expensive to operate. Now, the trick with these engines is to have them run at as little RPM as possible. The less RPM they run at, the better it is. They are huge, as you can see. By reference, if I put one on... what was I using just now? The Quinn 1J, I think? That's the size of that engine. That's enormous. That's why I usually don't put it on a boat straight up. I usually put it on a boat lying down, because that way it has a bit less of a footprint. Because if I put it laying down, like that, it doesn't take up as much room. It does make putting on the connectors a bit more interesting, because it's not always as easy. But it's something that you can pretty easily work around, generally. Now, what do I want for this design? I want to also be able to pull things with this ship. I want it to be used for towing, if required. I don't have any doors yet, because I haven't researched those. So I'll have to make use of the standard blocks. That means that the ship cannot have any artificially closed off compartments. And that she'll have to rely on compartments which are either airtight by design, or it just has to have a lot of excess buoyancy. Right, let's start with the end part first. We're going to go with the gearbox. And this gearbox is going to be set to a 3-to-1. Just straight up. Pipe after it. And the pipe goes actually pointed down. So that way I can have a generator underneath, which will constantly generate power. Okay, another pipe. There's plenty of room here. And we're going to put another gearbox, once again pointing at the engine, because that way you generate more RPS. If you do it the other way around, you generate more torque, which means that the ship, and I'm not the best at explaining this, it can pull harder, pretty much. Not necessarily what I need. As for the general shape of the ship, what am I looking for? Something with a cabin up front would be useful. Because that way I could have potentially a medical bed over there, maybe the equipment, and stuff that can generally be used in missions. Equipment, maybe some room for a fire cannon or a fluid cannon later on. So maybe those things are going to be required. I'm just spitballing the design here. I don't have any particular plans for it just yet. Just seeing if I like what I'm coming up with here. Now, it will take a lot of money to build this thing. That's kind of my problem with these larger ships. They become really expensive to build. Especially in the multiplayer server. I believe there are ships of 80,000 operating. That's not necessarily a huge amount of money, but it adds up pretty damn quick. Hold on, no, this one needs to be first. Like that. And then I'm gonna go with... Is 3 blocks too many? For to do it like that? No, I think I can make that work. So like that. And I need a few more of these. 1, 2, 1, 2. No, hold on. How did I normally make a ship like this? There needs to be one extra block there, because I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, and then it goes up. That would make this a huge bow, though. No, I don't want that. That would make it way too big. The bigger your bow, the more water resistance you're going to get. That's the problem. That's not really what I want. I'd ideally have a fairly sleek bow, because that gives you less water resistance. Alright, let's go up. That's the first line. 1, 2. Something like that. That gives you less water resistance. 1, 2. And then this one here. Filling all of this stuff in is going to be expensive as hell. But hey ho. It doesn't need to be a ship that I can immediately fully kit out, because I don't have the technology for that anyway. I don't have radars, I don't have screens, I don't have sonar, I don't have a fluid cannon. I don't have a crew to operate most of these systems, even if I wanted to. Although, I'm sure there are people out on the Discord who'd be more than happy to assist with that. Alright, something like this. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Alright, close this part up. And then extend this. Let's see, I'm constantly using 1, 2. Let's do this part of the bow first. As you can see, it's going to require a lot of blocks. Fortunately, these are cheap. It's 2 blocks each. It does add up, though, especially once you're starting to add a deck. That really requires a lot of filling. Now, the plans for this ship, general support ship of anybody who is in need. I might at some point have another support boat on top of it, but it's usually a fancy thing that you almost never use unless you're role-playing. What I might have on this ship, if it is big enough, is a platform to park a helicopter. Or maybe a smaller item, a smaller craft that I'll be at some point able to remote control. Because that is also a thing. Remote control. So think drone. A drone could be a useful asset in trying to track down somebody who is in an emergency. It is something that can be very valuable. Then again, so is radar. And maybe radar is just enough. Now, one thing that I still have with Stormworks is that larger ships are nice. They're great fun. But a small craft is usually enough. A larger craft is something that's pretty much by definition slower because it's larger. It's more expensive, so it's usually more than what you need for a particular mission to be completed. And because of all that, I usually end up more or less ignoring those ships because they're too much. You don't need all of that stuff. Alright, so this is going to be the general shape of the ship. We got 3 extra blocks here. This doesn't look half bad. Okay, with this I can still have room for a fluid cannon on the bow. Potentially more than one. And let's say that the deck is over here at this level. That would mean I have a significant portion down below decks, but you do look at the bow shape, which very quickly constrains all the room that you have. Now, I don't have any hatches yet, so I don't need to collar in everything below decks. I mean, I could put a bed down there, a bio bed at some point, but none of it really matters currently because it's overkill. It's not really what I need. Now, propulsion. We have the engine set up. I'm going to change this, by the way, to have another generator. Ships like these generally tend to have a lot of systems. And those are usually pretty power hungry, even when the engine's not properly running or running for too much power. Let's see, centralize that axis again. Yep, like that. Okay, now I can add a clutch. Power B, yep, correct. And from here, I have access to the azimuth thruster, the giant propeller, the large propeller, and the standard small propeller. This is the small. This is the large. This is the giant. And then we got the azimuth thruster, which is something that if you have robotic parts, you can change direction with it. But unfortunately, I don't have those yet. I don't have any pivots. I don't have any hinges. Well, with the exception of the hinge connector, but that's not steerable. So for now, I'll just have to use rudders. I'm thinking 2 of these props. 2 of the medium props. A medium propeller, or large propeller, uses 100,000 points of force. And this engine puts out 200,000 points. So that should be plenty. Now let's split this pipe in 2. And then spread it out a little. Angle it. And from here we're going to use these pipes. That's where the props are going to sit. Right there. Add one more line here. Here. And up we go. How about using some of the more elegant wedges here? That's maybe a bit too much. But the 1x2s could be useful. Like that. And then finish up with one of these. Then have a bit of a platform over the props. Or maybe that's not even necessary, because the ship will probably sit in the water pretty deep. So that might not be required. What I will require are 1x2 wedges. Come on. No, not over there. Here. And then here. Now, underneath these things, I want to have the rudders. Yeah, something like that. They will be sticking out, though, if I do that. So I'd also have to sacrifice that bit. And the rudder would sit over there. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's not too bad. I can make that work. I just have to make sure that it doesn't let in any water anywhere. If you do, you can spend a long time searching for where exactly it is that you're taking on water. It can be quite the hunt, and it can be quite annoying. Okay, then do I want a pyramid piece here? Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. But I do want more wedges, 1x2. I do not expect to be able to build the ship in one go. It's probably going to take 2 episodes before I get this done. Because this is a large ship. And it just takes time to get those things built. Over here I do want a 1x2 pyramid, inverse pyramid. And then another one. Come on. Like that. Whoops. And then just wedge this thing all the way up. I'm not sure if the ship is really going to be this high. If the hull is going to be required to be this tall. But this way at least I have a lot of clearance. Now let's complete the rest of the engine in this episode. What we have over here is an air intake. We have an exhaust, another exhaust, coolant, coolant out, and fuel. Oh crap, I don't have the custom fuel tanks yet. That means I also don't have the fluid spawners. Okay. Right. That's problematic. Because then I cannot build custom fuel tanks. Alright, this is going to be the Admiral class. Let me cancel that. I don't want the land vehicles just now. Oh, I cannot cancel them? Really? Huh. There used to be a cancel button there. The reason why I want that is so I can get fluid management for 8 points. And that is going to give me the fluid spawner, fluid pump, fluid meter and stuff like that. That means that I'll probably not be able to build this ship right now because I don't have a custom fuel tank. I could daisy chain a lot of medium fuel tanks. That would work. The problem, however, with that is that while you can do it, for a large engine, you need a huge amount of those things. Like an inordinate amount. And I don't find that really satisfactory. Because then you'd also need a large adding microcontroller to make sure you can add everything up. Get a display going, or any other kind of information that tells you just how much you have. So I'll probably be doing a mission off screen. And in that mission I'll be getting a few more research points. Make sure that I have enough to get the custom fluid tanks. And once I have those, I can build this ship out more. Alright, we're going to need an air intake. We're going to need a fuel in coolant, out coolant. This ship will probably always be in the water at these points. So we can just pump water in and out. This is going to be the in coolant. Like that. And the out coolant goes here. Now, this is not symmetrical, I know. The problem is, these things cannot really be symmetrical if the engine's lying down like it is. So it's unfortunate, but this is just going the way that it's, or this is just the way that it's going to be. Now, I am curious about one thing. How high does this ship in her current format sit above the water? How tall is this ship? How much clearance will it have? So let's fill up the deck and see what the answer is going to be. No, I don't want those blocks over there. Nope. Don't autofill it outside of the ship, just all the way here. Okay, so the ship's going to cost 26,000 in her current form. I think she's way too tall, but let's see. Well, it's not that tall, but I think we have a leak. I think something's venting. Because normally a ship like this will have more clearance. A lot more of it. Yes, there it is. That's the leak. So, if I fix that, what do we have now? That's more like it. That's a lot of clearance. Let's see. A trick that I usually use is just to add a couple of lines to it. So I'll add a red-ish line over there. Let's see, a yellow line here and a blue line here. And that way I can see how deep the ship usually is when you spawn it in. Yeah, pretty much what I suspected. It's just something shy of red. Now, what I'm thinking for the rest of the ship, I can widen this part, so this part here, and just build a helicopter platform. That way, I would have this entire part of the ship here. Let me just mark that, like that. That would be part of a helicopter platform. And then over here, we'd have the main cabin, which can also sort of protrude into the deck. And eventually come up to a steering platform, a bridge, if you will. So that's probably what I'm going to be working on in the next episode. Just making sure that I can get the bridge done. For that, however, as mentioned, I will need a few more things. I'll need fluid pumps. I'll need fluid spawners, and I'll need the ability to, well, to start the ship up for one. Actually, no, maybe that's just all I need. Just the fluid pump and stuff like that. Yeah, maybe that's enough. Oh, doors would also be a nice one. Right. Okay, well, plenty to do. In the next episode, we're going to be building out the ship a bit more, and I hope that you guys are going to be joining me for that. If you are looking to play Stormworks in multiplayer, again, linked down below in the description is my Discord server. On there, one of the lower categories, you can find all the information about my Stormworks server. And if you're interested in playing seriously with the other guys, having fun, rescuing people, and upgrading your creations, then by all means join the server. We have 8 slots, so full is full. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed Stormworks, and I'll see you guys next week for the next episode.